Hi, and welcome to the first ever Guava Bean Pick a Card intuitive reading. I'm Francesca, and today's reading is all about finding out what your strengths are as a freelancer. If you've never had a reading like this before, I am so excited to share how this works. So in a moment, I'd like you to choose a pile from these three, and then you'll be able to skip to the timestamp below. Okay, here we go. Take a look at these three piles. We've got 1, 2, and 3. Just take a moment to breathe, clear your mind, just clear it of anything urgent, and just focus on this reading. And when you're ready, just choose whichever pile you feel drawn to. You don't need to overthink it. And if you want to pick more than one pile, that is totally okay as well. When you're ready, just make sure you find your timestamp below, and then you'll be able to hear your reading. Okay, if you chose pile 1, this is the reading for you. So, the way these readings work is we have 3 cards, and I've chosen a card for each question in this reading, okay? And I'll explain what that means. So the first card is the Hanged Man, and this represents what your natural talents are, so what you're naturally really good at already, okay? And we'll look at this one first. So when we look at this, I'm thinking that you're the kind of person that is really good at seeing things from a different perspective. The first kind of impression I got is maybe that you might be a designer, or maybe even like a conceptual artist or something like that. Or maybe it's something totally different. It could be like marketing or something like that. But the message I get from this is that you help people see something differently, or maybe if something isn't working for them, you help them in a different way to everybody else, and you help them see how it can work for them. So I feel like you don't just do your job. So you aren't just a designer, a marketer, but maybe you're actually quite unique in your niche. Maybe you do something slightly different, and perhaps you're really proud of that. I feel like you're actually happy when you have a challenge or a problem. Like some people really get scared and they feel really under pressure and stressed, and it actually holds them back. But I actually don't feel like that for you. I feel like when you have a challenge, it's what focuses you and you feel really pumped to do it, you know? And because I'm getting kind of these creative vibes from you, I maybe feel like you're the kind of person who is not afraid to try something new. So perhaps, being out of your comfort zone is what you live for. Maybe you like working with challenging clients, or you like trying to do something different that you haven't done before. Maybe you're one of these people that have always been told by like their friends and their family that they could be like an inventor, or something where you have to think outside the box, because I just feel like that's the kind of person you are. You're very adaptable, and you don't want to do things like everyone else. You're the sort of person that if you're told, oh, well, that's the way we've always done things, you hate that, and actually you'd rather find a new way of doing something. And I also get the impression with this that if something isn't working, you're not afraid to then go, okay, let's scrap that and let's try something new. I think that maybe at times you struggle with constructive criticism or feedback, which we'll get to in a moment, but I feel like you're not afraid of failure being part of your journey. So I feel like maybe you really do understand that just because something doesn't work, that it isn't the end of the road. It's just simply a way that didn't work, and now it's diverting you down a path that maybe will work. And I think that reflects really well in how you work with your clients. So this second card is focusing on the kind of skills that you could actually learn, or skills that you could benefit from, okay? And we have the Devil card. Nothing to be scared of if you've never done a reading like this before. I think some people worry about this being scary. It's not scary at all. The message I get from this, so to do with the skills that you need to learn and something you need to maybe improve on, and we've already briefly touched on this, but maybe learning to accept and listen to constructive criticism. So it can be tough when people are telling us that, they weren't entirely happy with something, or they think you could do something better. And maybe it's something that you actually find you take to heart quite easily. And don't worry, because I think a lot of people are like this. But It's all about just not being so emotionally affected by constructive criticism. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about actual harsh, negative, horrible comments, because that's not okay. But I mean, if someone's genuinely trying to help you and they're trying to help you improve something, and maybe they weren't quite happy with something, or they didn't quite expect it to turn out the way it did, try not to jump to feeling like they're attacking you, because maybe you're the kind of person that does feel that way and takes quite an emotional response to this kind of feedback. So it could just be learning to be more open with that kind of feedback, because I do think it would help in the kind of career that you want to take. I do think it's an integral part of growing generally, but I think especially in the career that you want to take on, okay? I also feel like you struggle to say no to people. So a lot of people struggle with this. Again, it's quite normal, especially if you're a freelancer, and especially if you're a new freelancer, because sometimes you feel like, you want to take on new work. You don't want to say no to anybody, because that's saying no to an opportunity. But you have to think about it like this. Sometimes saying no frees up the chance to work on something better or something that's more suited to you. You can't just say yes to everything that comes along, and I feel sometimes maybe you feel like you have to, because you might be letting someone down or something like that. But that's not the case at all. It's totally okay to say no, and it does take practice. You try and be more mindful in the decisions that you make. And if you need to say no because something better is going to come along, or because you just don't want to do it, that's totally okay. Always try and it's very hard, but try and listen to yourself and listen to what you want. If it doesn't line up with your goals or where you want your freelance business to go, then it's okay to say no sometimes, okay? Again, with this, it kind of ties into also feeling like you jump into something too quickly. Maybe you jump to conclusions, or maybe you jump into something new, like a new project or trying something new in quite an impulsive way. So without, prior planning or really thinking about it. And while it's okay to be spontaneous, of course it is, sometimes it can seem a little bit reckless. And what I want you to do is just try and think more about how you're going to plan to work on things. And really, although I feel like you're very passionate and very enthusiastic, especially when it comes to trying a new project, which obviously that's amazing, and never kind of give up that passion, I also think at times you need to be planning things better. Sometimes you might actually struggle with a workload, so you could maybe suffer from like the feast or famine thing that a lot of freelancers go through, where you might not have any work and then suddenly you've said yes to everything and then you can't do it all and your work suffers. And that's why it is important to say no as well, and try and actually give some thought into the projects you undertake, because it actually makes your work a lot easier to manage, and if it gets to the point where people really want to work with you, you're an incredible like designer or marketer or whatever your job is, and people are just knocking down your door because they want to work with you, try and implement something like a waiting list, because if people really want to work with you, they will be happy to wait, okay? That might not be right now, that might be a little bit further down the line, but it's so important to remember that, because I know that it seems like we have to say yes to everything to be successful, but planning things, making sure that you're in balance, making sure you can manage everything means you'll be good at business, okay? And it means you'll be happier. I will say one last thing is that, we were talking about saying no and, being able to sort of manage your projects and things. Maybe I just get this sense sometimes that you have trouble with being assertive, and that often comes from, not being able to say no and things like that. And I just want to remind you, because I feel like you need to hear this, that you can still say no and it be tactful and pleasant, and it doesn't make you a bad person, okay? And finally, I want to draw your attention to the third card, which is the Emperor card. And this is a bit of guidance, really. So we've just had what your natural strengths are, what skills you can learn, what areas you can improve. This is how you can use it now in your freelance career, okay? And I really think that the skills we mentioned in 2 are important here, because you really need to focus on the areas in which you struggle to make this work, but I feel as if you would be great in maybe like a project manager role, or even like a creative director or something like that, where you're making the decisions, because I feel that you have this ability to foresee problems, or like foresee a scenario before most people can. Maybe that's something you've always been really good at, and I think that would make you a great leader, in fact. Okay, I feel like you struggle with maybe sort of the boring tasks and the admin and stuff, and you'd much rather be getting on with the stuff that really makes a difference in your eyes. So if you don't want to do these little tasks and you want to take a role like what we talked about just there, maybe you could get good at delegating and working with other people, working with other freelancers if you feel that point later down the road, okay? But I also think that obviously, I've mentioned your what you're really good at, and then to try and boost those skills to get the career that you want, you need to just kind of work on some of those things. I also think that working on your people skills would really help too. Maybe that's something you don't realize you struggle with. Maybe it's something that you've always struggled with and you know that you struggle with. But I think people skills can be learned. I think most skills can be learned. And I think that's another thing that would really help. And yeah, so that's your reading for today, pile 1. And I really hope that made sense and that you were able to get some guidance from this. So please let me know in the comments if this helped. And if you have any questions about this reading, I'll be more than happy to answer those for you. So take care and good luck with your business. Bye. Hello, if you picked pile 2, then this is your reading for what your freelancer strengths are. So let's take a look at the cards and I'll explain what these mean, okay? So the way these readings work is I've picked 3 cards and each card represents a different specific question, okay? Don't be confused because I'll explain everything, okay? So I'm going to start here. This is the 6 of Swords card, okay? And the question that this relates to is what your natural strengths are, okay? So this is something you were just really good at already. Maybe this is something you're really good at and you've always been really good at it. Or it could just be something that you're really excelling at the moment, okay? And this is the 6 of Swords. I know it looks a little bit kind of melancholy, but actually it isn't, okay? The 6 of Swords really makes me feel like you are so good at picking up other people's mess. So I feel like maybe you're always trying to sort out a problem. People have their gripes, their grievances, they have complaints or they have problems, and you're really good at helping people, analyze their thoughts, maybe even articulate their thoughts in the way that they feel as well to other people. Maybe you're really good at mediating relationships, the immediate sense I got from this card is that you either have a background in or you're currently doing something to do with counselling or therapy. Maybe even you're a community manager. Maybe you actually work with a lot of people who have problems that you like to sort out. I get the impression that you are really good at giving people guidance or direction. And that could be in life. So it could be maybe you're a life coach or you're aspiring to be something like that, or it could be with specific problems. And that also makes me think of like a community manager or maybe even a customer service manager or something like that, where you're working with people a lot. And I feel like another skill that you have which really helps you with this is that you're good at detaching your emotions or the way that you're feeling about something from these external situations, okay? So maybe ordinarily these problems that you're helping people sort would be something that you feel very strongly about. You might be very empathetic, but in these scenarios in your job, you're quite good at detaching yourself, so you can make an informed decision based on sort of logic and what you already know, what you're an expert in. And again, that's kind of, I'm getting the sense it could be like confrontation, or you have to remind people of rules a lot and you have to pull people up who are maybe not adhering to those rules, okay? And I feel like that's a real area where you excel. So next up, and this is one of my favorite cards, we have the Sun card. And this card relates to skills that you can learn or areas that you need to improve on right now, okay? So I get the feeling that because you're dealing with a lot of problems, you want to try and sort things out for people, and people come to you for answers, that maybe you take yourself a little bit too seriously, or maybe you let those problems affect your well-being. And I want this to be a reminder, because it's such a joyful card, that don't take yourself or your job so seriously, okay? I know that there are very serious aspects to some jobs, okay? And it might be in your job that, you're helping people out of a sticky situation, and sometimes it is a bit hard and it is a difficult situation. But maybe in your spare time, maybe in the time that you have for yourself, you can just try and loosen up a little bit and learn to laugh at yourself, okay? Like I've already said, I get the sense you might be empathetic, you might be an empath, so you need that time to decompress. So I would say you need to think about things that make you happy, that aren't to do with your freelancing business, okay? So, it's just time to decompress. You're releasing other people's burdens that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I think you just need to nurture yourself a little bit more, okay? Nurture that joyful side. So if you know that something makes you happy, it might be something you haven't done in a while. Maybe a creative pursuit like painting or playing music for yourself, or even just like getting out in nature, maybe like gardening or something like that. If it's something that you can't do anymore as well, so, certain circumstances mean that you might not be able to, say, travel, for example, or something like that. Maybe you need a change of scenery and you used to be able to do it and now you're not. Whatever it is, try, if it is something that you are struggling to do because of whatever reason, it's something that you can't do at the moment, try and compromise. Is there something similar that you could do which is easier to fulfill? It's I get the sense that actually you used to, or you do love to plan adventures, and maybe you can't do that anymore and it makes you sad, and maybe you've kind of withdrawn into yourself a little bit. And sometimes we just need that little bit of fun and a little bit of spontaneity. And I do think that if you can work on figuring out what you love to do and find a way around it, if you can't do what you used to do, try and find something new that you like to do that's similar, and just something that helps you not focus on work. So I also get this impression, now that I'm thinking about it, that you find it hard to differentiate work and home life. I think that's something that a lot of us freelancers do struggle with. And I think having something creative and having something that lets you blow off steam a little bit would help create that divide and help you find a balance. Maybe you're one of these sort of all or nothing people, and you've got into this rut where you used to have so much fun, and now because you can't do what you used to do, that you've just stopped. And now everything is really getting on top of you and it's affected your happiness. And so, believe it or not, I think that having time to yourself, having, time with your friends, chatting with your friends, or planning something fun and an escape from your normal life will actually help your business in the long run. Because if you're happier and you're looking after your well-being, then other people will definitely see that, and it will reflect in your work, and it will boost your business, and it will help you be able to deal with things better. Okay, now finally, this is the third card, and this relates to, it ties in actually, these two first cards. So we had the natural abilities, the areas you need to improve, and now we're looking at what you could use, or how you could use these in your freelancing business. And this is the Page of Swords, and I actually find this really interesting because she is almost like the evolved version of the Six of Swords, okay? And I feel like that's because of this joyous sun card. What I mean is the Page is always a very youthful energy, she doesn't take life too seriously, which is interesting because we just mentioned the sun card, and it relates to this ability that you have of kind of helping people articulate their thoughts, or managing people and figuring out their problems. And I think the jobs we talked about before are actually a great fit. So I feel like you've worked with in problem solving, but more to people. So, a counsellor, a customer service manager, a community manager, that kind of thing. I feel like you already know the kind of career that you want because you're doing it. I feel like you've already done it in the past and you're doing it now. Or maybe you're just moving into doing it now. But I feel like it would be so much better and you will have a lot more success if you nurture yourself, okay? So you need to work on finding that balance, work on improving your well-being because, maybe you're in a slump at the moment and that will just reflect in your career. Pile 2, thank you so much for watching, and please let me know in the comments if this helped you and if you were able to make sense of this. I would absolutely love to know. Good luck with your freelancing business and take care. Bye. Pile 3, this is your reading if you chose pile 3 at the beginning. And now I'm going to show you the cards to show you what your message is for your freelancing strengths. And don't worry if you've never done this before, because I'll explain exactly what the cards mean and what they relate to. Okay, so these are the 3 cards I picked for you. Okay, and they relate to an individual question, which will help you figure out, your strengths and how to use them. So don't worry if this looks a little bit confusing because I will explain everything. We've got the Justice card, which I'll start with, okay? And this relates to what your natural strengths are. So this is something that you're naturally really good at, okay? And the Justice card, I feel, shows authority. So maybe you're really good at keeping a balance, and maybe you're also really good at helping people get through a bad time. Maybe you're even good at doing that yourself as well. I also get the sense that you're really good at seeing both sides to a story. So this makes me think of, you might be a good interviewer. You're a good listener. So maybe it's something that you've worked in, but I'm thinking like a documentary maker or a filmmaker. Maybe you're even a reporter, but somebody who wants to hear both sides of a story before making an informed decision, okay? I feel like you're also really good at knowing how to control a situation to get the result you want. And I don't mean that in a manipulative or a negative way at all, but I think you're so good at sort of reading a room or reading a situation, and then you're just excellent at knowing what to do next. Some people flounder, and they're not sure how to deal with the situation. And I feel like that is the opposite of you. I feel like you're so good at being able to just intuitively read people, read a situation, and it gives you a good foresight actually. I feel like you're quite a persuasive person as well. But again, I think this is for the greater good. I don't think this is in trying to get selfish gains. I actually think this is for helping a cause, helping a situation. Maybe like a big cause, like a charity or some sort of environmental company or something like that might be something you're interested in, or something that you've even worked in before. But I get that sense of it just being effortless. It's because it's something you care about, and that's what makes you so good at it. You're not working just for the money as such. You work because you are wanting to create like an impact that helps other people. Next up, we have the King of Pentacles card, and this card relates to the skills that you can learn or areas that you might need to improve on, okay? And this is interesting because immediately when I picked this, I thought of maybe you need to practice your kind of fundamental or your essential business skills. So I feel like you're so good at helping other people, but you don't necessarily apply it to yourself, okay? And this could mean, so normally Pentacles is referring to finances. And I actually feel like maybe you need to take better control of, your freelancing budget. Or it could be your personal budget. Or it could be, making sure that invoices are sent out on time. Make sure you're chasing clients for payments. And you're managing maybe sort of the non-billable stuff that you have to do that really gets on top of you. I feel like it takes a lot of time and effort for you. And that's where you need to focus on really to make your business a success. I think you're so good at sort of inspiring others and helping others for the greater good, and then you neglect this part of your business, which may seem basic, may seem like very basic things, but they're important things. And I think this is an area that you're struggling with. So it could be something like blocking out time to deal with these things every week, or it could be, downloading an app to help you manage your money, that kind of thing. But I feel like there's a lot of mental effort that you take up, and it could be better used. I think you could be more efficient with your time, and this is something that maybe you've been struggling with for a little while and you need to focus in on. And finally, this is the last card, and this is the 8 of Wands. And So the previous two cards we had are your natural strengths, an area you can improve, and now this joins those two together, and we'll explain how you can use those in your freelancing business, okay? When we look at this card, it's very fiery, it's very kind of impatient energy with these horses running down the hill. And I feel like this is talking about your ability to motivate other people. I feel like, you're so good at, like I've already said, you're a good listener. You like to look at both sides of a situation and help people through. And I feel like a great way to do this would actually be to create something. So could it be a talk where you're talking to people and giving like a seminar on your area, your niche, and how to motivate people to deal with their problems themselves? Could it be creating content like this, or a course, or something like that? But I get this sense that you could be a great leader and you could inspire others, okay? And it can be using what you're really passionate about. But I do think that this part where we talked about managing yourself, managing those practical matters, the things that will help you succeed in your actual business, when we're talking about the realistic, boring things like the invoices, the billing, the chasing clients, and that kind of thing, I think that really needs to be looked at to make this work, okay? So it could be a great opportunity to collaborate with others, ask for help, see what opportunities are there with people you may already be working with or people you already know. But make sure you're putting yourself out there, because you have to remember that your actions affect your outcome. So if this is something that you really want to do, you need to make yourself notice, and that's a great way to do that is with things like creating your own content, creating your own course, and that kind of thing. I also think it's a really good reminder that if this is something you want to do, it's not just about what you know, it's not just about your strengths, but it's important to be a relatable, real person. So it's okay to talk about the things you feel that you've failed at. It's okay to talk about the mistakes you've made, because that's real life, okay? If you want to inspire people and you want to help people through their problems, you have to be real, and people learn from their mistakes. And if you're able to stop people making the same mistakes you did, that is so inspiring, and I think it's important to remember that. But that's it. Pile 3. That was your reading, and I hope you were able to make some sense out of this. I really hope so. If you were, please comment below, because I would love to know if you related to this. But Pile 3, good luck with your freelancing business, and take care. Bye for now.